Hey guys, what's growing? It's Heather at Bush Puppy Farm. It's almost the day before we leave for our vacation, and the crucial job I have here at the farm is rigging up irrigation to, these pots, the grow bags, and those two big birdies beds that are full of sunflowers and beans. I thought a lot about this, and I think I have a plan. So here's my irrigation setup. It's a little complex. This is the irrigation timer for the drip system, the drip tape that goes to all the row crops. And you see I have a splitter here, and we've got a line that goes down to the high tunnel and a line that goes up to the upper field. Now this is another drip timer. It has also a split. One of these lines goes to the pollinator bed and all the way around the greenhouse. This other line isn't really doing much right now. So it's going back. It does the row right behind the greenhouse, but everything else is on the other line. So I'm gonna use that line, and you can see the difference. So this one right here comes around the corner and it goes this way, and then it goes underground up to all of that stuff. So I know that's not the one I'm gonna use. This is the line I'm gonna use, okay? Comes over here and it goes underneath all this stuff, and it comes out over there next to that white box. So I am going to run a line from here, real easily from here, just to these two grow bags and that nasturtium pot. From here, where it's visible, I'm going to poke a hole and run a line over here. I'm going to put a T intersection here, run some like little sprinkler heads to these three pots. Then on this side, I'm going to run drip tubing. So this is different from drip tape. Here's the tubing. I mean, same idea, but it's just a different product. And you can see every 6 inches there is an emitter, and that emitter will drip water. So the good thing about sunflowers is they don't actually need that much water. And these are on a slight slope because they've settled. And so the beans in the front need the most water, and the sunflowers in the back don't need a whole lot. So I'm going to put 2 lines in there, one in the front for the beans and one down the middle for the sunflowers that will just kind of roll downhill. So I hope this is going to work. Let's get started. Okay, set up, and I'm testing it right now. It looks like it's working, but I do have one concern. So let me show you what we're doing. Okay, so I popped in this single tube here. It's a 1/4 inch tubing, and I've got these little sprinkler heads right there. They're not, so the pressure isn't very high on this well, which really stinks, but it's the way it is. So they're coming out, just not a lot, but it's still water. That's the important thing. So, you know, I can turn them up a little bit, but that doesn't really do much. You know, there's still water coming out, but it's not a whole lot. So some water's better than nothing. And then I poked a hole in the same line right here, and I'm not going to bury this right now because nobody's going to be out here. So it doesn't really matter that it's a tripping hazard. It is coming out of here too, which is very good to see. Here as well. And I have just a single emitter there because I had no more of the little sprinkler heads. And then it tees off here and comes up into this bed, and then this line runs all the way down, and it is working. You can see the drips right there. Okay, so we've got a line running right next to all of the beans and a line running next to all the sunflowers all the way to the end here. And there is goof plugs, or just basically end plugs down here at the bottom. So, double check that this is still, yes, it's working even down here. So I said I had a concern. My concern is with this splitter here. So the way this splitter works is that every time the timer kicks on, this valve switches sides. So that every time the timer runs, it's running a different line for you. And then you just set up your timer to run multiple times, and then both lines get watered. So when I tested this just now, I turned it on, and it was set to run on this line, which feeds up here, and it was working. So then I turned it off, waited for everything to reset, and then turned it back on with the knowledge that it should switch from this line to this line, but it didn't. And my suspicion is that there's just not enough pressure to do that. So I'm a little concerned because I don't know if it's going to be switching back and forth while we're gone to water both this big bed up here, which needs it. I mean, the corn's up there and everything, and all this stuff. So I think the plan is I'm going to come out tomorrow and do some, if I have time, I'm going to make time. I'm going to make time to come out tomorrow, transplant those marigolds into those open bed spaces that I have in the high tunnel, and get a new succession of sunflowers direct sown where the first succession was. And while I'm out here, I will check and see which direction that thing is pointing. If it's still pointing in the same direction, it's probably not working. Again, it's a pressure thing. Last year we had much better pressure in this well than we do now. So it's a real challenge to keep things watered because, like I've said before, we won't get rain again until October, November. So, you know, it's a long period of time we have to water, and I have to make sure that this stuff works while I'm not here. So, yeah, so I'll check on it tomorrow when I come out to transplant, and let's hope that it's working, because otherwise I'm going to have to make a choice. I'm going to have to choose between all of the pollinator bed and the corn and all of these sunflowers and the squashes and the beans. And I think the choice, if I have to make that choice, it's going to be this stuff, the squashes, the sunflowers, and the beans, because that's more food. It's also harvestable stems. Camera shut down again from heat. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to make a choice. We'll find out. So let's come back tomorrow. Before we start transplanting, we will see what we can do about the water issue, and then I'll have to make a decision. Okay, so it's the next day. Let's check on the irrigation. Well, that's a very good sign. It flipped. So that means that it's working, and it's flipping back and forth, and I don't have to worry, and I don't have to make a choice about what gets water and what doesn't. Okay, so it's Friday today. We leave tomorrow for our trip, and oh, hello, little lizard. That's a western fence lizard. Cute little dude. Okay, so we leave tomorrow for our trip, and look at this too. The bees. This is where they're getting water because there's a drip out of that. They're super happy. They're like, yes. So I just want to take care of a couple things here because I have a ton of stuff to do at home. The stress. Anyway, I'm going to transplant some marigolds. I'm going to pinch the young zinnias that are in here, the later succession that are in the high tunnel, so that I will have branching stems. And I'm also going to harvest, not to keep because they're not ready, the zinnias up here in the upper field, so that they'll branch while we're gone, because otherwise we'll have single stems and it'll take a lot longer for branching to happen. So let's get those jobs done so I can head home and get more work done. Hey, editing Heather here, and I'm going to throw this camera out the window. It didn't record 90% of what I did out there, so I'm sorry if you missed all that. What I was going to tell you is it looked really rough how much I pinched off of the zinnias, but by doing that it will give me lots of branching stems. Best to do it when those plants are young, like the ones in the high tunnel, because they'll give the branching stems much lower on the plant and you'll have longer stems. But I did cut everything off, all the current blooms off of the ones in the upper field, because I have 3 weeks before I need to harvest again, and that will give it plenty of time to regenerate and give more branches, more stems, and lots more flowers. So, and then that final bit that you saw, I actually cleaned out the first succession part of the sunflowers and planted more seeds, sowed more seeds. So, and what I thought was a fixed irrigation problem, as you'll notice earlier in the video, was actually not. It did not flip sides. So, so the upper fields, I mean the pollinator beds, they may die. I don't know. So I'm going to ask my brother-in-law who drives past there pretty regularly to stop in and hand water if he can. But we'll see. That's how it goes. All right. I have to wrap this up because I got more stuff to do before we take off. Thank you so much for hanging out with me over these last 2 days on this video. I hope you have a wonderful time in your garden, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.